Picture this. You're a 30-year-old crypto CEO. Thousands of people have entrusted you with their life savings. You've just gotten married, you're on your honeymoon, and suddenly, boom, you die in India from a rare complication. And oh yeah, you are the only person on Earth with the password to $190 million in crypto. Totally normal. No red flags here. This is the true story of Gerald Cotton, a Canadian entrepreneur who went from running the country's largest cryptocurrency exchange to becoming the subject of global conspiracy theories, Reddit manhunts, and one Netflix documentary with ominous piano music. Let's back up. In 2013, Gerald Cotton co-founded Quadriga CX, a crypto exchange with a name that sounds like a spaceship and a business model that relied heavily on trust. People signed up, deposited their funds, and just assumed the whole thing wasn't being run out of a coffee shop with one guy holding the keys. Spoiler alert, it was. Quadriga promised simplicity, speed, and security, and it delivered. If by security you mean all the crypto was stored in a digital vault only Gerald could open. Seriously, no backup plan, no second admin. It was like putting $190 million in a safe, then giving the only key to a guy who rides mopeds and flip-flops. Then came December 2018. Gerald and his wife flew to India for their honeymoon. A few days later, she reported that Gerald had died suddenly of complications from Crohn's disease. Tragic, heartbreaking, and for a young man in otherwise good health, very unexpected. He was quickly cremated as per local customs, and a death certificate was issued by the hospital. But because of timing and logistics, Canadian authorities never saw the body. You can imagine how well that went over with 115,000 people who just realized their crypto was gone. Quadriga announced the death a few weeks later, and along with that announcement came the bombshell. Gerald had been the only person with access to the platform's cold wallets, the ultra-secure offline storage that held almost all the customer funds. In other words, sorry everyone, Gerald died, and also, so did your money. Understandably, customers were like, wait, what? Followed by, wait, where is it? Quadriga's team claimed it was all still locked in those cold wallets. But when blockchain experts started digging, they discovered those wallets were empty. Not just recently empty, like hadn't had any crypto in months empty. At this point, the story stops being sad and starts being suspicious. Because while people were depositing money into the platform, Gerald was reportedly moving it out. Into other exchanges, into personal accounts, into who knows where. Some was used for margin trading, some was used to fund withdrawals for other users in what looked a lot like a Ponzi scheme wearing a hoodie. And this wasn't a one-time thing, this was happening for years. But here's where it turns from bad business into Bond villain-level conspiracy. Gerald wrote his will just 12 days before the trip. He left everything to his wife. Properties, vehicles, money, even funds set aside to care for their 2 dogs. Which, side note, is a weird flex in your final will when you forgot to leave instructions for unlocking millions of dollars in crypto. Add to that the fact that there was no clear explanation for how a crypto exchange with hundreds of millions flowing through it had no actual money. So naturally, people started asking, did Gerald really die? I mean, if you were going to fake your own death, you'd probably want to do it somewhere far from home, in a country where cremation is standard and where delays in international coordination make things extra complicated to verify. And if you wanted to take it a step further, you might write your will right before your trip, leave everything to your spouse, and make sure you're the only one with access to the digital vault. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying if you wanted to disappear with $190 million, this would be a pretty solid playbook. To this day, there are entire threads online tracking supposed Gerald sightings, from Southeast Asia to remote beaches, like he's some kind of financial Bigfoot with a MacBook. And what about the money? It's still gone. Investigators found signs of it being moved, traded, and even laundered, but the vast majority of the funds vanished. Like your confidence during a first date when they say, I don't really believe in crypto or the moon landing. Canadian regulators opened an investigation. Some funds were recovered, Gerald's widow cooperated and even returned some assets, but no criminal charges were filed, and the case closed, technically. But in the court of public opinion, and definitely in the comments section, the verdict is far from settled. Was Gerald a brilliant young CEO who died tragically young, leaving behind a financial mess no one else could fix? Or was he the smoothest exit scam in crypto history? Nobody knows. What we do know is this: $190 million in user funds disappeared. One man held the keys, and the system was built on trust, vibes, and a complete lack of common sense. Let this be a lesson. Don't put your life savings in a platform where one dude can disappear with it like a magician pulling a rabbit out of your retirement account. And if you're running a company, maybe, just maybe, have a backup plan that doesn't involve "hope Gerald doesn't die in India." So next time someone offers to hold your crypto super safely, ask them two things: how many people have access, and what's their life expectancy? Because if the answer is "just me" and "don't worry about it," you might want to reconsider. Stay skeptical, stay secure, and for the love of all things blockchain, write down the password and give it to more than one person. Subscribe for more real-life money mysteries. And remember, in crypto, it's not just volatility you have to watch out for. It's vanishing acts.